Hi guys, I'm going to make a math video today. This is going to be for your next math lesson. I'm going to start with reviewing fraction bars, what we previously learned, and then we're going to get into how we can use fractions on a number line. So first, when we talk about fraction bars, we talked about how we can divide shapes into different equal parts to know how many parts or how that shape would look. And then we made that into a number called a fraction. So for example, if we have this square, we divided it in half, we have two equal parts. So when we divide up and we use fractions, we know that the parts that are divided are always equal. So for this one we'll shade in the top, and that tells us that we have one part out of two. So we can say that the numerator on top tells us how many parts we have, and the denominator is how many parts the shape is divided into. We'll call this our Now what if we look at this rectangle? We can divide shapes into as many parts as we want as long as they stay equal. So if we did 3 equal parts and we shaded in 2 of our parts, we would have 2 parts out of 3 that makes our whole. So again, the one on top, the numerator, tells us how many parts we have, and the bottom number tells us how many parts the whole shape was divided into. So I like to think about this as like a candy bar. It's the easiest for me. So let's picture this being our candy bar. Now when we first buy this, it's going to be one whole. So we're going to have all 4 parts shaded in because it's still a whole candy bar. We just got it. So we're going to say we have 4 parts to a whole when we're divided it by 4. For this next one, let's say we got a little hungry and we ate half the candy bar. So we're going to eat half now, and we're going to save half for later. So how do we write half of this shape as a fraction? We would say we ate 2 parts of the 4. Okay? So this helps. This is why we do it, is if someone asked, how much of that candy bar do you have left? And we know that we only have 1 candy bar. So we want to say less than 1, but it's more than 0. So this would be 1 whole candy bar, and this would be nothing's left. So when we ate half of it, we are now saying we have 2 parts of the 4 left over. Now for the last one, let's say we got a little more hungry, and we ate it all. So there's nothing left. So we're just going to kind of say we ate it all, and we have 0 parts out of what began as 4 parts. Okay? So that was fraction bars, what you previously worked on. Now we're going to use fractions on a number line. So we're going to focus on a number line. If you have at home right now a ruler, that would be really helpful to look at a ruler while I explain the new concept here. I'm going to erase this. So just like we can use a ruler, and each one of these lines is divided into equal parts. So today we're going to focus on numbers from 0 to 1, kind of like we did with the candy bar. We had one candy bar, but we ate part of it, so it's between 0 and the number 1. So we use fractions to help tell people how much of that candy bar we have left. So on my number line, I'll write 0 to 1. This is a line. And on our rulers, they divide it into 16 parts. So there are 16 lines from 0 to 1. For today, to make it a little easier, we're just going to divide ours into fourths to start right now. So we're going to do 4 equal parts. So 1, 2, and 3. So we have 1/4, 2/4, and 3/4. Now that doesn't have to be. You can divide this into as many parts as you want from 0 to 1, as long as they are equal length. Okay, so here's a different ruler. You can see how this one only uses 2 parts. So there's 1 part, 2 parts. So this one, we would either say it's at the 1 or at the 2. Okay? So when we get to this 1 is the same thing as 4 parts out of 4. Because 4 parts out of 4 means it is equal to 1 whole. Alright? Now why might this be helpful? Why do we want to know exactly how far or exactly how tall something is? Well, we can do this. We use this for a lot of things. For example, what if you were trying to fit a shoe? Some people have shoe size 10. Some people might have shoe size 10.5. Now, if you had a size 10, but your foot was 10.5 inches, would your foot fit in a shoe at size 10? So that's why it can be helpful to use parts. So if we had a size 11 and your shoe size is 10.5, your foot would fit in the shoe 11, but it would be way too big. It'd be like wearing your parents' shoes. It'd be way too big for you. So that's why it's helpful to sometimes use part of whole numbers. So it's useful to know part of 1, like 1/2. Okay? So if you can, draw a number line and it'll help you just as I have. So we're going to write a 0 and then we're going to break it into fourths. So equal parts, 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, and 4/4. Or you could write 1, because that's the same thing as 1 whole. 4 out of 4 parts. So now let me ask you, how far is it from 0? Let me erase these. How far is it from 0 to our first mark? To this one here. Because we have 1 part out of 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to say 1 part out of 4th, or 1/4. Okay? Now, if we said we're at the 3, so we're no longer at the 1. So we're going to count over. We're going to say 1, 2, 3. So now we're at 3 parts out of 4 that makes our whole. So now we're at 3/4 on our number line here. And if we measured something and we wanted 1 exactly, then we'd be at 4, because we went 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 parts out of 4. So that equals, again, our 1 whole. Okay? I'm going to clean this up a little for us. Now I want you guys to be thinking, when you're thinking about a number line, on what ways this could be useful for you. So I said the shoe example, but what if you were maybe you're putting carpet in your playroom, and it was new carpet, and we needed to measure from one side of the room to the next. So we don't want gaps, because then there would be wood. We want the whole floor to be covered. So sometimes your room might be less than a whole number. So we would use a ruler or a tape measure to get the exact length of that room. So maybe your room, we'd start from one wall and we'd go all the way to the other side of the room. And we're laying down carpet here. And we measured from one side at 0. We measured with a tape measure all the way to the other side. And we got to 30 and let's say 1/4 inches. So your room was 30 and 1/4 inches, and that's how much carpet we needed. Now if we didn't know the exact number and we was like kind of in between 30 or 31, we're kind of sitting here not knowing, and we kind of just guess in the middle, we'd be at 30. Let's pretend that was our 30. I'm sorry. And a half.